So welcome to Green Careers Behind the Green Frontier. This session's really about getting to know the people behind the green transition. And I think, if you think about change, what does change require? We need new technologies. We need new processes. But what actually makes change happen is the people behind it all. And this, in the end, comes down to stories. And that's what I want to take three completely different people who've taken completely different careers and unpack what drives them, what gets them up in the morning, and what they're trying to achieve in their careers and what they do. And so sitting here with me today is Mohammed. He's a technical planner at Smalt. And I want to hear really from the beginning, how did it start for you? What really drove you to start a career in sustainability?
So thank you so much, Dale. I'm really excited to be here. So as you previously mentioned, my name is Mohammed Abou Alpha. I work as a technical planner at Smalt. So my journey began after I finished my mechanical engineering degree. I thought okay, I should get my hands dirty, quite literally. And I started as a solar installer because I didn't want to just know sustainability, in theory. I wanted to understand it from the ground up. So Smalt gave me this opportunity through trainings, mentorship, and that really made a huge difference. Today I'm a technical planner, but my journey has been all about going through different, phases of in the solar field, or layers of the solar field, from installation to planning to leadership. And now as I finished my CAPM certification, and I'm working towards getting my PMP. I'm actively pushing forward to my next step, which is trying to become a DC solar project manager.
Fantastic. It's good to hear that perspective around what training you've done and where you're going with your journey. I want to take things back a bit further, back to your childhood, where you grew up.
Yeah.
And, at what point you had that spark and said, I want to work in sustainability. I want to work in solar. What happened? Where did you grow up? And tell me the story.
The thing is, I grew up in Lebanon, and in Lebanon there's no electricity. It's 5-6 hours a day, and also they don't use the green energy much. So then I was I need to be part of something meaningful. And now for me, working in the green sector, it's not a job, it's a mission. I think it's the perfect way to contribute in building a cleaner and more responsible future.
Fantastic. And, a part of, I guess, coming to this realization, you're growing up without electricity for many hours a day. You don't really have access to green power. In Lebanon. Did you start already informing yourself in Lebanon, or was it a process you looked for training in a country like Germany where there are opportunities? What spurred you on?
Yeah, exactly. I finished my mechanical engineering degree in Lebanon, but I thought I need to go to a country that has this opportunities, have the technology, and maybe, who knows, maybe I can take some of this technology from here. Maybe I can explore the idea of opening a small franchisee back in Lebanon, then I can contribute in the green tech and expand the green frontier even further.
The green frontier back home, I love that idea. Is that your long-term goal? Do you imagine yourself then going back home, starting a company, and I guess bringing the skills that you've learned in Germany back to Lebanon?
Yeah, I think that's my long-term goal.
This is an interesting concept, I guess. In Germany, there are a lot of access to training and education. We take it for granted, I come from Australia, there's a fantastic education system, but we have to pay for it in Australia as well. And so much of training and education in Germany is free, paid for by tax.
Yes.
but actually it gives so much back to society because you have organizations like Smalt, people like you come here, they learn new things and they contribute back to the economy. Now I want to take a bit of a shift now away from, the journey immediately to what your daily job is like, what you do, what kind of projects you work on, and what skills you need in your daily work.
Yeah, I think working as a technical planner now, you need different skills, like leadership, attention to details, communicating with different stakeholders. But for me, the most important skill that you need is hands-on experience. Like understanding how the work is done on the ground before you try to lead it. That will really make a huge difference. Like for me, it made a huge difference. It gave me some credibility and confidence that I use now when I plan.
Yep. Yeah. Fantastic. And what's the hardest part about your job? What do you find most difficult?
I think the hardest part is, like bridging the gap between the execution, the planning and the execution. Because, like each project has different surprises. And being able to, how can I say it? Like being able to adapt to this can be sometimes challenging. Like for me now, it's a little bit better because I have been in both fields, Like I've been on field and I've been in office, so yeah, it's a little bit better. But yeah, that's the main challenges that you can face.
Yeah. And isn't it, when we read a lot of the newspaper articles about the green transition, there's talk that there's a massive shortage of skilled labor.
Yes.
Do you notice that? You're a team leader, you manage people. Do you notice that you don't have the trained technicians you need or not?
Yes, we unfortunately not. We are really in need of technicians, of people who work. That's why at Smalt we are training people who has zero knowledge in solar, even zero knowledge electricians. We are training them from the beginning, preparing them for everything, trainings, making some vital buildings, just for them to be on the level that they can start their career. That's just like what happened with me.
Yeah, and with that, is it something where you need more recruits at Smalt as well, as in you can't even meet the capacity for demand there are for these technicians? Or is it that you don't have the capacity because you don't have the funding in the company to train them all?
Yeah, I think we now, like that's something I really don't exactly know.
But
yeah, like there is funding, but there's no people.
There's no people, so it's people is the problem.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, we are always in a chasing around people, like, and even though we are just taking any person who just doesn't have any experience, he just have the will, he just have the vision, and preparing him for being a successful technician.
And they get jobs, right? Even if it's not at Smalt, they get
Exactly.
jobs. Yeah. It's interesting to hear that from you. Now, I know you're mid-career, you're on your journey, but what advice do you have for a young recruit who's starting out, wants to work as a technician, work on the green transition? What advice do you have for them?
Yeah, just the main thing is please start from the field. Understand the work that is done on the ground before you lead it. That really helped me, like I'm an example, that really helped me to lead teams, to plan confidently, to take real life decisions. So yeah, please just try to start from the field.
Start practically and understand the problems, yeah?
Yes, exactly.
Fascinating. And last question, where do you see yourself in 10 years? What's your dream?
Like my short-term goal is to be a solar project manager. That's what I'm actively trying to do. But on the long term, I think, as I previously mentioned, trying to maybe explore the idea of opening a small franchisee back in my home country and trying to expand the green frontier.
Fantastic. What a wonderful way to finish. I hope you'll have great success in your
Thank
goals.
you so much.
It was such a pleasure talking to you on stage here today.
Thank you so much, Dale.
And we'll have to catch up with you in 5 years and see how things are coming along.
Hopefully.
Thanks so much, Mohammed. Everyone, please give him a round, loud applause.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. Well, great. So after really going into someone who's at the forefront of fighting the green transition, doing technical work in the field, we're now going to corporate social responsibility and corporate sustainability. And it's my pleasure to welcome Lena Engel, Director of Sustainability Department Head for TÜV Nord. Please make her feel very welcome. Welcome. Thanks so much. Well, that was inspiring, wasn't it, to hear about the forefront of technical work in the green transition.
Definitely.
And changing gears, what is your frontier, and take us behind it? What do you do in your daily job?
Yeah, so I'm pretty lucky because I get to work with a very dedicated team every day on bringing companies forward in their sustainability journey. So I lead a team of consultants at TÜV Rheinland, and together we consult with different companies, different sizes, different topics, areas. That's what I do.
Fantastic. And let's go back to the start. How did you begin your journey in sustainability? What was the very beginning for you? Did you have an aha moment?
Not exactly. I kind of always knew I wanted to work in sustainability business. And back when I was a bit younger and decided what to study, there weren't any courses out there for this type of work. There were environmental courses, of course, and there was business. There was some, back in the day, CSR. And I really didn't want to do that, so I studied economics and politics and sort of chose electives in environmental science, etc. And I remember very vividly, I wrote my bachelor thesis on the European Emission Trading Scheme. And my professor told me, Lena, you really have to write it for dummies because I don't understand what you're doing, but yeah, I'm fine with it. And so I sort of had my own journey, but I knew where I wanted to go.
It's fascinating, if you think about how much this career in sustainability, corporate sustainability management has changed in the last 15 years, I think there was a point, if you think of pre-Paris 2015, the CSO didn't really exist as a position, and most major corporations would be embarrassed not to have a CSO position and a full department. So could you comment a bit on how the actual career has developed during your career, how the scene has changed?
Yeah, so when I started to work for an agency, and I did mainly communications because there weren't as many people in our field, and it was more about reputational issues, green communication, if you will. And so I started in that space because it really was the only option at the time, but I really wanted to go deeper and work on core business issues. And so that has changed a lot over the years, luckily. There was regulation obviously helped, but also companies sort of started to change and see the business value of sustainability, and that has helped a lot, yeah.
Do you know what? It's something we talked about in the past in our conversations as well, but although we've seen this huge uptick in sustainability, awareness of sustainability in the corporate environment, at the same time, particularly in the last year, there's been a real loss of momentum. I mean, we saw the new omnibus, the dropping of the regulations. It just creates a lot of confusion and lack of clarity about what our goals and ambitions are. How do you deal with that? Because your job is to keep people on track.
Yeah, exactly. It's been really difficult. It's been a hard year, honestly, and a bit of a setback too. And even though in some regards I agree that regulation can be very challenging for companies, but what is more important, like with our clients, we see that every day, to be in that confusing space, that limbo of not knowing what should I do next, what's the right step is even worse because they don't really know where's the outline, where are we heading? And we all know the climate crisis is real. We have to do something, and if you just don't know and you don't have that guidance from regulators, that's even worse.
Yeah, and I think for all of us as well, working in this space, how do you deal with that on a personal level? Because, your job, I guess in your job, you get up in the morning and you want to know that you're bringing us in the right direction. How do you deal with the personal setbacks, things like that, where you see, it might be a sustainability goal / from a company you're working in. It might be that the European Union has softened the regulations. How do you deal with that on a daily basis?
Yeah, I guess. So I have a very clear compass. I always wanted to work in that space, and I'm very resilient. And there has been micro setbacks and huge setbacks over the years, and I just keep on going and try. In my daily life, I try to focus on really small achievements. Like I sit down every morning and I think what are the next steps, and I sort of try to focus on that. And there has been a lot of change. I mean, we're far. When I started 10, 11 years ago, we weren't as far as we're now. And I think to remember that, even though we all want to be even farther in the future and do more, it's still important to remember the small wins.
Yeah, I think that's something important for all of us. Even, apart from sustainability, you've got to focus on those little things you can achieve. I want to take a different tack now and really understand what your day or your week is like. So what does it look like? You come into the office, you're going to a client. What are the challenges? What's it broken down? How much is communication skills? How much is practical problem solving or analysis? All these kind of things would be interesting to me.
Yeah, I mean, talking to clients, it's always interesting because we try to work in sort of a co-creation space in consultancy work. So no day is like the other, because it's very dependent on how open our clients are, how much information they share with us. And that has actually also changed a lot over the years, because now we talk to sustainability managers and CEOs, and way back when I talked to communication experts. It's different, right? You talk about very sensitive data, climate risk issues, stuff that is really at the core of the business. And it's sort of, I would even say the most important part is the interaction on a human level, and how you get along and how you understand the challenge. And yeah, it's very important to have that empathy, and also take the clients with you in very small granular steps towards something bigger.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Something you said before resonates with me, and I guess us at the Green Tech Festival, because, in the earlier years of the festival, it was about getting people's attention. It was about championing change, about being loud enough and getting people to actually be aware of the problems. And almost this is a positive thing. I mean, the festival has got smaller, but now we're getting down to dealing with the granular problems. You talk about you're now dealing with sensitive data that really is at the operational front. And I think that's only a good sign that we're not talking about what's the best message and what's the goal for 2030. We're talking about how do I make this part of my supply chain transparent, or how do I decarbonize this process. I think that's a win for all of us that we've headed in that direction.
Yeah, definitely.
I guess to finish off, what advice would you have for people pursuing the career in corporate sustainability management?
I would say, more generally, I would say just stay curious, because there's so much information out there. And for me, that's actually the best part about working in sustainability, is that there's so much to learn. For me as well, I'm learning so much over the years, and stay open, curious. And the other thing would be stay connected, because we really have to, you saying now that it's getting smaller, and we sort of also kind of withdrawing in that bubble space again, and that must not happen, right? We have to go out there, we have to connect, we have to share the information. And I think that's important to also understand that some people might take a little longer, but be human and take them along.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for coming and talking to us about your life and your career. It's really interesting to hear, and I'm sure if any of you want to catch up with Elena, you can catch her as she goes backstage.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Elena. Cheers. Have a good day. Great, so that's two fascinating stories around careers and lives in sustainability. And that brings us to our final contestant, because she's actually the global champion of the Startup Slam that you saw this afternoon. It's my pleasure to welcome Alyssa Bernardo, founder and CEO of Radiant Matter. Please make her feel very welcome.
Hi.
Hey, a few less people here this time, right?
That's nice. Nice
end of the
wind
day.
down.
This is a real fireside chat amongst friends.
I like it.
So, how does it feel to be a global champion?
Yeah, no, it's really nice. It's great to be able to showcase what we do in front of a new audience and meet the other contestants with some awesome solutions. We were like neck and neck, which is always good.
Awesome. So, take us behind your frontier. Why sustainability? Where did you start? Where did this journey begin?
I spent about 8 years in the manufacturing space within textiles, and what I was able to see during that time in the supply chains really shook me. I think if anyone wants to work in sustainability, is get behind the scenes and start seeing how things are actually made. It's really shocking what supply chains look like in reality. And I didn't know I would end up in sustainability, but I knew that I didn't like what I was seeing, and I wanted to find a solution. And I always thought, someone else out there will make that solution, and I just, will be able to buy it one day and use it within the companies I was working in. But it just never came about in those 8 years, and so I thought, well, I don't just want to sit here and participate in the industry that I was in and be sort of just a silent participator. I decided to go back and study and reframe, and that's when I created the first biosequin material and started moving things forward and with the company. But yeah.
I have to just dig a bit deeper on a couple of things there. So what did you study? You said you retrained. What was your original study?
I originally trained in fashion design. That led into manufacturing and design and production when I was working. So my career, I picked up this huge amount of skill sets. And then slowly started building into innovation, and I did a material futures course. And I went back and did an MA.
Where was that?
In London at CSM, and it's a really open space where it connects design, science, and technology, and you get sort of frameworks, and then you can kind of build on your own ideas. So I hooked up with scientific teams. I sort of retrained in understanding how to read papers and the world of science, and that's how it started. Yeah.
Amazing. And I have to imagine it, because I'm not a scientist. I've never had anything to do with material scientists. Are you in a lab playing around with cellulose, and then you're like, oh my God, it went purple? Or what? How does this happen? Because it's kind of, when I see your presentation, it's like, no one's discovered this. We've all seen beetles. We've all seen a film of soap on water, but no one said, hey, we could use that to make color. What was the moment?
Yeah. The science, it's a bit like the pathway, I guess, of graphene. Like, it's been tinkering around in scientific labs for a really long time, but it's not made it to the market because there's a lot of barriers and challenges to get to that. And so they were the things that I was working on unlocking. And I think because I had a different perspective, I was able to turn it into a product. But now we have a very, very white lab, and it's very hardcore science. But yeah, it's always the scientists always feel like they're making magic, because you're playing around with something that's brown and beige like wood, and out the other end you get sparkling glitter, and it's a really nice, fun material to work with in the lab.
Can I bring my daughter to your lab? I can tell she would love it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah. And tell me then, so you saw supply chains, you saw how dirty it is. Is that what drives you? Is it that change you want to see, or is there something else? What gets you up in the morning?
Yes, I think it's just really shocking when you speak to people that live the lives that make the things we wear and we sit on and we live and breathe in, like these buildings. When you see people that actually make those things with their hands and connect to them, you realize that it's all a facade of what we're seeing right now, and it's really touches people's lives in a dramatic way, and it's not fair. This whole world of the way we make things isn't fair to people that make them, and so I just really got sick of seeing that, and I wanted to do something better. I think that's what really drives me, and I think better can happen if we all just put our minds to it. I'm not a trained scientist, but yet here I am doing something that I love and changing mindsets and building materials for a better world that we can all use. So I think the other thing that really drives me is that sustainability is often seen as materials that are sort of recycled or brown and beige type eco colors. But I come from a world that's also loves color and color effects. And actually we all do. We're all innately attracted to sparkle. It's a part of our DNA. It actually links to our innate need for water, is why we link and we respond so well to sparkle. Marketers know this so well. They put sparkle in everything because of that. It makes things look attractive. But I love that, but then I also want better materials. So I'm really driven by trying to achieve a balance between things that look really great and have great color and performance, but also that are sustainable.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I feel like we could have a 60-minute chat here about all this stuff. The problem is you get two Australians on stage and we won't stop
chat
talking.
forever.
We need a cup of tea, don't we, actually? So I think, I'd like to go and get a bit more personal now. Do you suffer from doubt ever? How do you deal with the challenges of being a founder? Because it's terrifying sometimes, right?
Yeah, totally. Like setbacks and getting no's all the time, that's just a part of the process. I think even when we were raising, you only need, one or two people to say yes, and then you can close a raise. But you probably get about 80 no's along the way. And so for me, that whole journey, I'm quite a curious person, so just always trying to reframe it in a mindset of learning. So even in the lab, when we're, setbacks and challenges are just part of innovation, and we wouldn't be doing something new and radical if we weren't going, on untrodden territory. So we will, things will go wrong constantly, but the way that we look at it is it's data collection, and then from there you can make decisions, you can learn, and it's just about making sure you go through those iterations as fast as possible so you don't get stuck in a cycle, but just fail fast and keep on moving forward and treat it like learning. That's, I think, the way we approach everything. And even with the raising investment, it's what can I learn from all those no's so I can then not get a no the next time, or do it better. And it's just, constant evolving and learning.
Yeah, it's fascinating. It reminds me of musicians, having to do audition rounds, round after round, and it has to be this learning process as well.
Yeah.
So.
But it's sometimes not fun.
But you know what, I have to say, you got a massive resounding yes today, didn't you, from the entire audience? So
these things help when you're feeling like, I've had about 50 no's in a row. Can someone just say we're on the right track? It's good.
Well, you know what, it's actually a pretty good assay or a pretty good survey of your market, which is people who care about sustainability. That's the people in the room, and they voted yes. So you can use that as a statistic.
Yeah, I've told the team already, and they're really, really happy. It gives everyone motivation to keep going through. But
that's awesome. And so on to the future. What's 5 years down the track for you? What's it look like? What's your dream?
Sustainable sparkle and colours and everywhere. That's what we would hope. I'm really impatient person, I guess that's something to admit, but it's always quite hard to then balance the progress and the iterations you have to go through to be able to get a physical material to market, and you've got all these legislations and things that you have to do to make sure it's a material that can be used, but everyone wants things now and yesterday, and yeah, it's kind of that balance all the time.
And it's got to be cheap, right? Sparkly and cheap and
Exactly. Yep.
last
Million
forever, but be
things.
biodegradable.
I know. It's just
It's
it's a lot to consider all the time. But I've got an amazing team, an amazing community, and group of advisors and investors that are all really mission aligned. And it's just using all that knowledge now to bring it forward.
Well, it's been a wonderful 10 minutes. I take my hat off to you, and I'm sure we all take our hats off to wonderful Alyssa. Continue your journey, keep doing amazing things, and we'll be watching from the sidelines.
Thank you for having me.
Our pleasure.